The largest earthquake. Keep in mind, after Thursday's earthquake, which was a 6.4, at the time the largest one this region had seen in 20 years, we were told there was only about a 9% chance that we would see something larger. Those odds were low, but we did see a larger earthquake after that.
7.1.
One thing that is guaranteed is we're going to see a lot of aftershocks in the coming days. That is already happening in the wake of this magnitude 7.1 earthquake. Many of those aftershocks are likely to be magnitude 5. Some could also be magnitude 6, which is incredibly powerful and could be felt over a large area. Melissa?
We do know that, thank you, Joe. Actually, we'll check back in with you later. Let's go, in the meantime, to NBC's Molly Hunter, who is in Ridgecrest, which is the epicenter of this event and all the aftershocks that followed. We just heard from state, local, military officials, county officials there in Kern County, where you are. What is the latest that you're hearing?
Melissa, a couple of things stood out to me from all of those officials, but I just wanted to tell you actually right now, we just saw some lights go on. So I know we were talking about power outages earlier. 1,800 customers felt really low to me because we've driven around. All been really dark, but just behind the parking lot where we're standing, a few lights have gone on. The other piece of information I wanted to show you, that light behind me, I don't know if you can actually see it, it's a very bright light. We're standing outside the regional hospital. Joe just mentioned it, but the hospital has actually evacuated patients and they are treating patients out there. Now that suggests, obviously, and we heard from an official in one of those press conferences, that there has been some damage or the hospital has been impacted. We don't have specifics about that, but they've clearly decided there was enough of an impact or enough damage to actually move patients out. So patients are being treated just behind me outside in the parking lot. More power is going on. The only two other things, Melissa, that really stood out to me from the previous press conference is that there is a lot more damage than we thought all over, whether it's fires, water mains, gas leaks, and of course gas leaks and water mains breaking. That's how fires are started. That's how more damage comes about. And the other thing is there have been a lot more injuries reported. So we still don't have any numbers. We heard the health officials right there decline to give numbers, but there weren't that many injuries after Thursday's quake. There weren't that many injuries after this morning's strong aftershock. And so now all of a sudden, that injury count will go up. So we'll be watching that, Melissa.
The local and state officials that we were just listening to were talking about how they had already gone around. They actually went around and repaired a couple of roads already. But it's about midnight where you are. It's still dark, obviously, and it will remain so for several hours. What is their plan as far as to start out at first light, perhaps, to get a better look at that damage?
And Melissa, really fast, I just want to say the video that actually is on screen right now, that's the house fire, one of the house fires that we actually saw just a few blocks from here. I described to you earlier, as soon as we got out of the hotel, as soon as that quake hit, we saw black plumes of smoke pretty close by. My producer and I, Angie, hopped in the car, drove over there, and it was a house on fire. We're seeing the flames I'm watching on the monitor right now. That is that house fire. We know that the woman who lived in there got out safely because we spoke with her relatives, but everything in that house was destroyed. And that's the only time I've actually seen emergency services out there on the street. They were keeping media back. They created a perimeter around that house, but we have now heard reports that they've been going around, knocking on doors, making sure people are okay, directing people towards safe areas. It is really dark. It is really late, and certainly we just heard from officials in that press conference that they're ready to go. They've got extra personnel to go out at first light to send choppers overhead to figure out and assess exactly the damage and then figure out what the needs are.
Speaking of damage, you spoke with a local gentleman earlier who actually watched his house slide off its foundation. He describes it as completely destroyed. So if that's any indication, first light, we could be seeing a lot more of that.
Absolutely, and our other crew actually is at a mobile home park. They described it as completely unlivable. Every single home, they said, was either tilted off its foundation, certainly not safe to go in tonight.
Well, considering how scared everyone was, you described a terrifying situation earlier when this first one struck, the 7.1. Describe to us, please, how people are reacting.
They're scared, Melissa. It was scary. It was really powerful. And not only was it the 7.1, I was just looking through that USGS earthquake list. There were so many strong aftershocks almost in the 5 minutes immediately after. There have been dozens since then in the last couple of hours. But for the 5 minutes immediately after that 7.1, it didn't stop shaking. So we all said, look, that felt like we were shaking for 5 minutes. We were. Even the 7.1 was just going on for maybe 30 seconds a minute. But it continued. It was really scary. And I actually think that, look, people in Las Vegas, people in Los Angeles are describing a rolling feeling, some sort of seasickness. It was violent here. It was scary. I grew up in California. Look, there are third-generation Californians who we've spoken with in the last couple of days who said that Thursday's 6.4 was the most violent, was the scariest they'd felt. Tonight was a lot stronger.
All right, NBC News' Molly Hunter in Ridgecrest, which is the epicenter of tonight's episode, a 7.1 magnitude earthquake followed by multiple aftershocks. Damage is being reported. They will know more as they go out and look again at first light. But we do know that there is plenty of damage, and we will continue to follow this. Breaking news out of Southern California on MSNBC.